My name is Robert Merchant. I'm the chairman, and I guess we can go around the table and introduce ourselves.
Kit Bruce.
Tom Rhodes. Bill Harris.
Richard Beasley.
Noah Krebs, planner with the town.
Okay, and I guess we're all in attendance. Or are we? Are we missing one person?
We're missing
Oh,
Buddy.
Buddy. Okay.
Yeah.
First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the June 3rd, 2021 meeting. Everyone,
I was just talking about that with Van. I don't think that Linda and I did the minutes in the transition, so we probably have to figure that
okay,
out.
so we can
practically.
defer action on that until
Yes.
the next meeting. Okay. Next item on the agenda is review of the new church at Hamrick Drive. Is also known as Cross Community Church. And Noah, did you want to give us some background on this project?
Sure. This is in the T4 Neighborhood Center Open Zoning District. The project is greater than 10,000 square feet, which is allowed in that zoning district for meeting facilities and places of worship. The designers asked at the preliminary approval for a waiver on the first floor elevation, so that it is 10.5 rather than the maximum of 5 feet. The last review, 2 things were asked that we changed for final. One was to provide a screening plan for the underpinning, and 2 was to add articulation and interest to the east elevation.
And from your standpoint, or I guess I could ask Bill, did you want to speak on that?
Sure. I felt like, I know the screening was something that I brought up, and I felt like it was handled. It's not 100% screening, but I felt like it did what it needed to, and it has the potential to they can do more or less as they need. The worry was just things that kind of start to build up under there. And then the elevation that needed help, I think they also handled that well. Besides those 2 items, last time we looked at it, I thought that it was a great building. I still do. I don't have any real comments architecturally.
Is there any questions from the board or staff?
My question is, has the surrounding neighborhood been notified of this new presentation? They were very much on board the first time around. I want to make sure that they stay in the loop of what's going on with this.
I don't, again, this agenda was put together a few days after I began here.
Yeah.
So we kind of jointly worked on it. I'd have to double check if we did send out notice in those last few days.
I realize it's a separate jurisdiction, but we still need to be friendly to our neighbors.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll check on that and follow up.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? I'd like to give the applicant an opportunity to, I guess, walk us through the project. I mean, I don't know that we need a real detail, because if we saw that in conceptual, but just kind of give us an overview.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ryan Claus with Felder & Associates. First of all, we thank you all for hearing our project and our petition here. Last March, not much has changed from that meeting. Our primary goal in that meeting was to make sure that we could, in fact, raise the building up and get some use out of the undercroft of the building, since it was really available for the church. I think we definitely heard your concerns about the screening of the equipment and any storage happening underneath. And just as I believe it was Bill that just commented on, you're correct. Anywhere that they intend to put any equipment or any additional storage, we would easily be able to expand any of those screening areas that we have underneath the building. Currently, we tried our best to consolidate everything. If you were to look at sheet A 1.1, you can see where the equipment platforms, they have to go for the ability of the equipment to work. They have to come outside of the building. So we built rather large, but as small as they could be, decks essentially off the side of the building to the south, which will be screened to above the equipment level. So no equipment will be visible, but with that, we extended underneath the building so that we can consolidate equipment and storage in those two areas that we have those decks. So we felt like it was a good solution. We think that, you know, a simple horizontal board will be in keeping with the style of the building that we're going for, with the you know, with the shutters, with the louvers that we have throughout. So that was sort of the aesthetic we wanted to keep. And again, it is easy to mimic if we have to add on to anywhere, you know, as the church grows or as they decide to have some more storage. But right now, I think we're accommodating everything that they've asked for. So we do not expect anything to grow. Also with the equipment platforms, those as well have been coordinated with our mechanical subcontractors. So we don't expect those to grow either. So I think what you're seeing in this presentation is, you know, plus or minus a few square feet, right around what you'll see. So you can see that also illustrated in the elevations as well as the renderings. And, you know, that's our basis of design. And we appreciate that. We hear you. And that's definitely the forefront of the concern of the church as well, to make sure that this is all attractive and in order, you know, anywhere you're viewing this building from around the site. The other item that you guys commented on, which we agreed, it was very simple on the east elevation, which is the primary approach to the building. Previously, it was a flat clapboard elevation. That was essentially it. Now we added some windows, which is, that wall is where the sanctuary is currently. So, or was essentially moved to. That exterior wall now is a part of the sanctuary. So we're able to bring in some lights and also add some articulation to that elevation. We thought the simple addition of some glazing, as well as we have a little a trim band horizontal that kind of breaks the level of the massing, which we felt worked fairly well. And then we do have an exterior egress stair, which, you know, it is what it is, but we're proposing a galvanized metal stair so that, you know, longevity of it'll be simple to upkeep and will last and won't be anything ugly, you know, paint chipping or anything like that on the exterior. It'll stand up to the elements. That's essentially it. I think the building, I think originally it was a little bit larger. We've reduced it by maybe 1,000 or so square feet. But generally the style, the aesthetic, the differentiation of the roofs where they break sort of in the middle. We kept all of those elements, and the tower on the end as well. I'll just comment on really quickly. We felt like that was a very nice element. It becomes sort of a lantern, especially at night. We'd like to have some illumination within it, not throwing any light out, but allowing that tower element to glow, truly to glow, not to throw light out, but to glow. So, and you can see that in the renderings. We produced a nighttime rendering to kind of give that look, to allow you guys to see it. So again, we appreciate your comments. We did our best to address them. And if there's any other questions for us, please let us know.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant and board?
One question I do have of probably the applicant and staff is the signage, the lit signage on top of the building within the code? Or,
I haven't evaluated. I don't have any kind of submittal that is going to let me measure dimensions versus dimensions of the face of the building. So I haven't reviewed that specifically. I don't know if the applicant submitted. You're all
We'll have-
with that
sorry.
in mind. Go ahead.
No, I'm so sorry. We'll have to double check that, but I do believe we're within the guidelines. But that would be something as well if we, we'd like that reviewed and decision, I guess, made tonight. But if it had to be a separate submittal, we've been through it before where we have to do a separate signage submittal or something like that. But if that could be covered here, that'd be great.
It can be covered within the same permit, but I'll want to just have the sign design and dimensions within that packet.
Okay.
If we did approve this tonight, I would just stipulate that the staff, it's based upon final approval of the staff on the signage and the lighting of the signage, whether it's on at night or not on at night, and the effect on the surrounding community.
I think that would be wise.
Any other comments or questions? Willing to entertain a motion?
I move that the revised plans presented be accepted with the stipulation that the town staff has to review and approve the signage, both in terms of the size of the signage and the lighting. And would also appreciate it if the staff would reach out to the local community, as I'm sure the church has, to verify that there's nothing there that's going to jump out. In so many words or less. I don't know if that's really a motion. Yeah.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Looks like it's unanimous. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Next item on the agenda is preliminary review of a multifamily project at Grover Hill Road. The applicant is the Kirkland Land Company. And Noah, if you could bring us up to speed, I guess, the project and I guess why it's coming before us.
Sure. So this is a property on Grover Hill Road in T4 MCO, Neighborhood Center Open. The applicant has described the design of the buildings as apartment house style, which is an allowable building type in T4 MCO. There were significant site design for multi-building development requirements that weren't addressed in these preliminary plans. So I thought that, the direction of the design review board would be helpful for the applicant to move forward with a project submittal that is in keeping with the intention of our home-based code. Just to run through some of the things that weren't addressed in this initial plan. The apartment house building type, the width and depth of the main body, the secondary wing, are all exceeded with the current designs. There was no real attempt to break up the massing of the buildings. It's also indicated on the front elevations that there's tuck under parking visible from the street, which is not permitted under the code. And then the number of units with the apartment house building type is exceeding the maximum with the current layout of the buildings. There are listed in my report several sections of Article 2 of the Port Royal Code that were not addressed with these plans, including block design, building orientation, parking, street trees, civic space set-asides, and building type. So I thought it would be helpful for the applicant to get as much input from this board as possible so they know what to do moving forward.
Okay. Bill, did you want to comment on the architecture?
Sure. So I did go back to, I think it was 5-20, to look at the apartment house type. I understand that's the type that we're supposed to hold it to. Yeah, there were quite a few things, I guess. Trying to start with the macro, I guess, and work to a finer detail. Overall, this is just architecture, it's not the planning part, but the buildings, there's two building types, it seems, plus amenity and garages, but pool. But it seems like more variety in the way that they're grouped up might help. If you had buildings that just had a little more variety in the way of numbers or massing. Second is the plan of each building seems to have the right, the jogs that you want to see, and it has the massing going on in plan. Once you get to elevation, you really don't get much of that, right? You get kind of a big, long, flat, I don't know if it's flat, but big, long, one level, very low pitch roof. It doesn't have a lot of articulation there. So I think you want to really bring out, in the plan, I think you set up, and the apartment house prototype talks about it. The plan kind of sets up for you can do some things with your roof to give you a little more variety, or a little more hierarchy and those kind of things. So I think that needs some study for sure. As you move down, then you start to get into windows. There's different light arrangements on the different buildings. One's 3/1, one is 4/. The 4/4 really doesn't work. It kind of accentuates the horizontal, not the vertical, which is one of the things we look for is vertical proportions in windows and lights. The window trims are, there's no trim head or jamb. It's all kind of just picture frame. It really isn't the amount of detail, I guess, you would look for. And the examples that are in the code even, I mean, they're full of detail, they're full of window, they're full of kinds of articulation. The other thing is that, and I know it's tougher in apartments, but it's very possible, all three photos there do that, is that you want kind of a hierarchy of window sizes. You want a taller window at the bottom, a size on the second floor, and so one of those. Third, I know there's always egress issues and apartments are tough, but you can still make that work. Elevations, there was a diagonal hatch. I wasn't sure quite what that was between buildings or between windows, upper and lower. There's kind of I don't see that it has a call out for it. I just had the question of what that was. Amenity building, kind of the same issues. Has some really terribly proportioned dormers. I would say maybe just don't have the dormers. It has kind of a strange looking entry door set up. Overall, I guess the buildings don't have a real flavor of being low country or anything Port Royal. One of the first things it says in the code is to encourage new and renovated buildings to reflect the distinct characteristics of the town of Port Royal and low country. I don't think it's not really happening. So those are the things that I kind of picked up with pretty quickly. I think for a preliminary, those are, it's kind of a lot of issues. I think we're just asking for a little more probably.
Okay. Any questions of the board or staff?
What are the height restrictions?
It's 3 stories.
Yes.
And I think one of the other things, you don't mind my saying, that doesn't seem to be addressed is the the block effect that we want of the layout and design of the buildings. 12 units per building and and minimal number of streets that just go down to a dead end, whatever. It was very specific in the form-based code as to how these streets and blocks should be laid out. And this does not meet that.
Yeah, your code asks for frontage types and it gives you street sections and that kind of thing. And you're not seeing that. You're seeing parking lot ringed around buildings.
And this board has historically required department developments to meet that requirement. I mean,
Yes.
And, we've had things come back to us several times, And I can't remember the names of them. One is out on Savannah Highway, close to 170. And I don't know if you remember the name of that, Noah, but
Legends or Park?
Legends,
I
yeah.
think it's the Legends.
Yeah, Legends, yeah.
And then the other one is located across the street from
Community Bible.
Community Bible. And I don't know that either of those are perfect examples, but I mean, we have applied the street and block standards to apartment complexes in the past. And I see no reason that we would stray from that. And it's what's in the code. I mean, it's spelled out. I mean, they have to meet the street and block requirements, and parking is provided as on-street or at the side or rear of buildings.
Yes.
Okay.
And looking at the site plan and the tree and topo and all, it doesn't seem to be any obstacles to achieving that. As far as we've had one development had a utility line going through it, so we gave a little relief there. Some that we said, well, save these trees, and that didn't happen, but we give some relief there. But this is just basically an overgrown, I think it was a golf course, wasn't it? But it's just like, there's nothing significant about the landscape or the topographical nature of it.
May I interject briefly?
Yes, I'd like to give the applicant an opportunity to go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you extending the time to our group this evening. This is a smaller tract of a 72-acre parcel of ground that we're currently under contract for. And since the submittal that you all are looking at, we've had quite a bit of deviation from the site plan you're currently looking at and commenting on to what I would call a newer site plan that incorporates a lot of the block system and some of the comments that you're currently talking about. There's been a number of developments since we hired on an architect and an engineer that are familiar with the area in conjunction with our internal architects. So that the site plan there doesn't really incorporate some of the things that were discovered during the due diligence period, such as the floodplain that we're having to navigate. But we're also trying to work around the remarks that were provided to us on your all's behalf. My lead architect, David Gibson, is on the line, and if it's helpful, I'd certainly like to share with you what the new site plan looks like. I think it might be a little bit more geared towards what you're all digesting and talking about during this particular meeting. And I think that the feedback would be probably more productive for all of us if you have a chance to look at it. David, can I turn it over to you to share your screen with the site plan?
I'd like to ask the board, because when does staff receive this revised drawing?
I spoke to the applicant on, is that the beginning of this week, Chris?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. They just wanted a little bit of an intro to how the board operated and stuff. So I gave them some detail about my comments in my staff report. They indicated that they might work on some new drawings prior to this meeting, get the feedback of the board, and then not get new comments from this body at this time, but simply show a site plan and say, is this more what you're looking for us to work on for the next review?
Okay.
So that's up to y'all if you'd like to actually look at them now or just have them wait for their next.
Yeah, I'm a little confused, just looking at ASP one without adding up the numbers, that looks like a very long, almost rectangle, which is certainly different than the site aerial vicinity map on the cover sheet. Is this what we're talking about? There's an
additional L shape at the bottom along Grover Hill Road that is not included on this site plan.
okay.
So I
So
guess I asked a general question, are we okay seeing drawings? The thing that I'm not confident I'm gonna be able to say one way or another. I mean, I guess, not having staff not review them, but I mean, I don't know that it would hurt to see them, but I don't know what we can offer as a board.
My suggestion is if you are going to look at them, just simply absorb a little bit. If anybody feels comfortable stating, yes, this is moving in a better direction, work more on this towards that. I don't think if no formal action is being taken, I wouldn't see an issue with it.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And I mean, as far as, I don't think you'll get very definitive comments, but we may say, sit down and work with staff and with Bill Harris, work through these issues. What do you think, Bill?
I don't have any issue looking at it. I'd love to save you some horsepower having to come back and forth to different meetings. So
Okay.
I think that's great. Also, I guess Linda always has said, you can email or call myself. We can talk through designs you have or that kind of thing architecturally. So I'm also always willing to do that as a help.
All right. So you can go ahead and share the revised findings.
Tony, does he have access to share right now?
Yes, I do. Sorry, my computer just had an interruption in the internet connection, but it's back now. So we'll check and see if the technology does work here. I appreciate you guys holding
got no volume.
David, we can't hear. We can hear you're very quiet. Is your microphone down?
Sorry, I had my microphone up. Yes. Sorry about that.
Did you say you did have the capability to share? I believe you do.
Yes, I'm doing that now, hopefully. Are you seeing a site plan?
Yes.
Okay. So I apologize. Again, my name is Dave Gibson, and I'm the Director of Architecture here at Kittle Properties. And Juliana on the line is the project architect on this project. But yeah, in talking about the site, and Chris, chime in when you want in terms of the floodplain area that we're having to deal with at the well, I guess first of all I should let you know that the north is to the left of the screen. So to the south or the right of the screen where I'm showing detention pond, that side is almost entirely within floodplain. So we were having to look at pushing everything over to the north side of the site anyway. And in looking at that, we started to look at the block setup and the requirements. And not that we weren't considering them before, but we were not considering them in the same way that you guys are intending them. So I think this is doing that more. And I have an overlay of this I'm going to pull up that should be in color. Is everybody seeing that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is defining how we are accomplishing blocks and public right-of-way streets, or I guess I don't know yet whether they're public, but on the side, but where we create the street grid and the blocks. And then all of our buildings would be forming around those blocks in some configuration like this. with the parking internal to these sites. Obviously, we need to do a little bit of screening or turning some buildings and such. Um, these blocks here are slightly larger than the required, but in the discussions we had the other day, if we add the alley in, I believe there's an exception that allows them to get larger and by like 20% or something like that, and we're below that. So we are starting to set up the block system now that would also allow the blocks to extend if they needed to, depending on whatever the neighboring development is. So that's the sort of the first piece of it. All of the buildings are they do have a lot of in plan, a lot of in and out, a lot of development of the massing of the building. You're right, it does not read yet in the elevations. We've not done any renderings for you yet, and we've not done any changing of details, adding of the layer of details to windows and things like that that would fit within the architectural styles that we're directed towards in the code. But this is really dealing with the overall sort of block massing, site planning, building orientation, the parking being internal. We still would have some street parking, parallel parking on the streets, two-way streets. So these would be accommodating in that right of way. The street, the landscape strip with trees and the sidewalks. And then the other, let's see, that's like 5 of the items I think on that were on the list that we were given. Civic space was one, and we're talking about trying to reserve some of the space at the south end or the right side of the site for that. Right now, we're working with civil engineers on the stormwater basin and floodplain management, but they're telling us it's going to take about that much space, that entire almost, well, it's actually more than a quarter of the site, it looks like, to take care of all that. So it does leave us some area for a passive recreation area. And then in terms of the buildings themselves, like I said, we're still working on the development of those, and we would have that before we would submit it for an approval. That's a sort of a general overview of where we are right now.
I guess I have one comment. It would be nice. It's really hard to read at this scale, but if some civic space kind of extending into the block area, it seems like the open space is on one half and the density's on the other. And maybe it's happening with the clubhouse and pool building, but
Yeah. And we're still looking at this because in looking at this now, because I have to consider what block grid we start to set up for the neighboring development. And my first thought is that because I can essentially establish half a block within our property, and then the other half becomes the other property. Is that I could do this with a center road where we have basically half blocks either side. If I did a center road, I could start to do things like take the clubhouse and this block, put it in the center, and put the other blocks out here. Now you're coming down and you've got sort of a center, there might be a green space, but a center focus to the site. Almost like a little neighborhood center.
Any comments or questions from the board?
I'm looking at it as, kind of a thank you for the information. It's more of an informational tour than anything else. I'm still having a little bit of a curious, and I realize you've got a larger project evidently surrounding this or adjacent to this. And I look at your sheet number 000 in the front, which has a trapezoidal almost, or a extended rectangle that seems to have different dimensions or different, it's not the that it seems to be wider than on the east-west access than what you're showing on your
Oh, on this aerial.
yeah.
Vicinity map.
What part of that?
So this will get subdivided. So that portion that's highlighted in the yellow there, that
Yes.
is, if you cut that in half vertically from where it says project location down to where the cursor is, there is what I believe is a sewer line that runs right down the middle of this property. And then we're using that as a divider point. So what you see, yeah, more or less like that.
Okay, so this would be the
Right-hand side of that.
of that parcel shown on the front page there.
Correct.
We're talking about the eastern half of that project location.
Yes.
Yeah, so the
Okay.
majority of the building development would be in that area.
Okay. Is that the extent of your project in this one, without letting on any secrets, or is there more to it?
No, that's the extent of it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So I believe the total parcel, not counting our port, or the total parcel is 70 some odd acres, and we are under contract for 26 of that, and we're using that sewer line, as I mentioned, as the subdivider line.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I like the direction that you mentioned that you may be heading with the more central plaza in the center. I'm assuming that the blocks will be organized around that and then screened from the adjacent properties. But yeah, definitely there's different options to look at. Is that allowed in here when you have basically the pedestrian area would be the center and the parking on the outside of it?
What kind of parking?
The street parking.
Street park, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Like a green, but there's also, the clubhouse is located there as well. Yeah, it would just
I mean, so
be
the service
parallel
dumpsters.
or angled.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no green space there, it's just the pool and the
Well, yeah.
clubhouse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't have any other questions. I'm just, I think, like I said, I appreciate the update and the information you shared with us.
See the next step.
There's really, work with the staff to move forward.
Yeah.
It appears to be the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that your latest rendering shows that I wasn't so sure you'd read the form-based code on the first presentation. So, but I appreciate the fact that you're making progress there.
Thank you.
I guess our only comment would be to work with staff as much as possible, and then there's always the option. I mean, I realize if this meets the code, it doesn't have to come back to us. That's all right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, that's all on the agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Thank you, guys.
We require digital submittal with PRV submittal.
I guess I have them when we actually meet, but I don't need one prior to the meeting or something.
Oh, gotcha, okay. And then we're into that.
Which I guess.
We have a reciprocal.
Let's just leave this here.
The guy that cleans comes tomorrow, I think. So.
I don't think it's-
No?
All right. We do. Yeah, we do.
It's for old people.